Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome back to Total War Warhammer 2 for our 15th-ish Total War Warhammer series. In case it's not clear, I do like this game quite a bit. Next week, on December 3rd, a new Lord pack is coming out called The Twisted and the Twilight, which contains some new content for the Skaven and a bunch of new changes and updates for the Wood Elves, which are actually a faction from the first Total War Warhammer, and one of my favorite factions from that first game, so I'm pretty excited about this. And, thanks to our friends at Creative Assembly, we're getting the chance to check it out and play with all the new toys, like a week early, which I'm pretty into. So today we're going to be starting a new Mortal Empires campaign as one of the new Wood Elf sub-factions. And if you have never seen Total War Warhammer before, if you're not familiar with this game, don't worry, you will not be left behind. We'll be explaining things as we go. There's a lot of little pieces in this game, but it's not actually all that complicated, and hopefully the meaning of that will become clear to you as we get in here. I do not think anyone should have trouble following along. So there's two new Wood Elf sub-factions, and I went back and forth about which one we were going to play quite a bit here. The Wargrove of Woe, led by Drycha, the Briar Maiden of Woe, is like a faction of forest spirit separatists who want to reclaim all of the magical forests of the world and kick all the elves out, even the Wood Elves. I think that's a really cool idea, and she has a weird roster that's like lighter on the elf units, but it has more forest animal stuff, like wolves and giant spiders. That's really cool, but unfortunately, her game starts in a part of the world that we've played in a lot, especially recently. Like, we fought these guys in the middle of the Empire so many times. So I think for that reason, we're actually going to play as the other Wood Elf sub-faction. The Heralds of Ariel, led by the Sisters of Twilight, because they start in a part of the world map that we often don't even go to. So this is like a flying unit and missile unit themed sub-faction, which I think is that's a fun combination. It's going to lead to us using a lot of units that I would otherwise ignore. So their deal is they have access to the Forge of Daith here. Unique weapons, armor, and items will be offered to us by the legendary Master Smith Lord Daith, which I'm going to pretend is a thing I'm familiar with. My grasp of the Warhammer Fantasy lore is not, like, amazing, and the Wood Elf stuff especially so. So we're all going to be discovering a lot of stuff together here. All of their armies get more ammunition than normal, and also their Hawk Riders have a new ability. I don't know exactly what this does, because I haven't played with them yet. I'm sure it will be cool. And then for their army specifically, the army led by the Sisters, we get an upkeep reduction for ranged units. Our flying units have more melee attack and a pretty significant charge bonus for flying units as well, which I think is going to lead to a really interesting army composition. We're playing on very hard here. They've made it so the Chaos Invasion is a thing you can just turn off or mess with the difficulty of, which I think is a smart change. We're going to leave it as normal for this game, in part because, given where we are, I don't think we're going to have to deal with it very much. I think it's going to hurt our enemies more than it's going to hurt us, so I'm strategically leaving that enabled. And with that, let's get going. The life-giving Oak of Ages has seeded many forests across the world, but now its outstretched world roots wither under the strain of destructive forces. As Ariel, the Queen in the Woods, hibernates within the oak, the Sisters of Twilight stride forth to heal the world's forests and bring balance to the web of life and death that binds all living things together. For the fate of the Weave is not just tied to the fate of Athaloran, but to the fate of the entire world. So, no pressure or anything. Now, sometimes these Mortal Empires campaigns can drag a little bit, depending on exactly what your faction's objectives are, because each faction has a different way of winning the game. I had a look at the new Wood Elf Mortal Empires objectives, and I think they're reasonable. This is not a thing where we're going to have to, like, conquer the entire world or anything. Hopefully this won't turn into a 150-hour slog toward the end. And I gotta say, I said that the Wood Elves were... Alright, enough of you. I will explain the thing. I said the Wood Elves are one of my favorite factions. It's been quite a while since I played the first game, so I don't entirely remember all their units. It's fine, we'll figure it out. We'll rediscover it all together. So, how they play. Of course, we have our Forge. The Sisters of Twilight have access to unique items and armaments crafted in the Forge of Daith. I'm guessing, on these elven pronunciations, it's probably pretty close to that. Lord Daith, most celebrated of elven smiths, will regularly gift us special equipment. while also offering his legendary smithing skills to improve his gift's powers. When approached in his forge, Daith will either indulge Nestra's obsession with perfectly honing her equipment by upgrading them, or accept Arahan's ardent insistence to carry newly forged equipment into battle. I'm assuming Nestra and Arahan are the sisters. And now we have this whole world roots and magical forest thing. So the Oak of Ages has seeded all these magical forests in other parts of the world. We have to perform various actions like securing the heathland regions that border them. So like these symbols here. Yep, we have a hostile heathland nearby that we need to... Alright, we'll figure that out in a second. By securing the heathlands, Wood Elves can increase the health of magical forests and perform rituals of rebirth there, thus permanently restoring their connection to the world roots. All Wood Elf armies can use the world root stance to travel short distances beneath otherwise impassable terrain. If you've seen any of our previous factions with like the dwarves or the orcs, it's very similar to that underway movement stance. Doing so is not without risk, however, as they can be intercepted by armies above and brought to battle, even the races that cannot use the world roots themselves. We also have the deep roots, which are different. The deep roots connect all magical forests, allowing the Wood Elves to instantaneously travel between different continents with ease. These can be accessed from within any magical forest, regardless of ownership. Oh, interesting. Once an army traverses them, it will be some time before another journey can be made. So there are other Wood Elf factions in the world, and at least I'm assuming at least Drychas will be hostile to us. So that's really interesting. We'll have to make sure that our magical forests are well protected, like all the time. And of course, there is the Oak of Ages. This is the most important elf tree in the most important magic forest. All world roots lead back to the Oak of Ages. By securing Athel Loren's borders and healing other magical forests, the Wood Elves can rejuvenate the world root's life-giving powers. The ultimate goal of our campaign is to complete the ritual of rebirth in Athel Loren and defend the Oak. And then we also have a political office system. We'll deal with that in a second. So let's look at our objectives. At the start of our turn, Athel Loren must have 500 forest health, and then a quest battle will show up. We have to win that. Complete the ritual of rebirth. Complete 8 rituals of rebirth. So I believe if we zoom out here, hold on, we'll open this stuff back up in a second. Yeah, there are 8 magic forests all over the world, so we have to do a ritual of rebirth in each of them. And here, the Oak of Ages is the center of Athel Loren, which is the most important magic forest. We'll eventually get down here and do stuff. That's gonna be some time from now. Let's not stress about that too much for the moment. So select a forest currently in a magical region and click the Deep Roots button on a magical forest to instantly travel there. The Deep Roots button. Okay, this. These become available to traverse on turn 10. And, okay, this is the Ritual of Rebirth button, which we cannot use yet. And here we have... as the forest health climbs, it will unlock bonuses for us, like more research rate, and also health being fed into Athel Loren, which is how we're going to get to the 500 that we need. Okay, that makes sense to me. So, these are, each one of these banners indicates the location of a settlement. Here we have our settlement, the Witchwood, and you can tell it's ours because it has our banner to its left. And in each settlement, there's a number of building slots, so you can put in them buildings that do things like allow you to recruit units, or generate income and trade goods for you. It looks like right away we can upgrade the main settlement building here in our settlement, which will do a variety of important things, like improve the city's standing army, and also unlock additional slots to build buildings in. So yeah, let's go ahead and prioritize that. That seems smart. That is 8 turns and 4,000 gold, which is almost all of our starting money. You know what? It's fine. We'll figure it out. And what do we want to build here? So that you can see there's a couple different categories of buildings. Over here in the green area, we have stuff that basically like generates resources and growth and health. So we already have a trapper's den. We could also build a craftsman tree, which I think we're pretty likely to do because we're going to need a lot of money over the course of this game. Income is very important. It also generates some trade goods, which don't do anything by themselves, but if we secure a trade agreement with another faction, the more trade goods we have, the more valuable that will be. And then public order and growth are both very important. Over here you can see public order. It's currently 0. It's trending downward 8 points every turn. This number doesn't matter very much unless we do such a bad job of managing our settlement that it gets to negative 100, in which case the angry people of the settlement will rise up, form a rebel faction, and try to overthrow us. That's bad for a lot of reasons, which are probably pretty obvious. So we'll just keep an eye on that. Trending downward 8 points per turn is pretty rough. And then growth. It looks like we have an unusual version of the growth system here. So every turn, some growth will accumulate in the settlement. Once there's enough, we get a new kindred. And then we spend the kindreds to upgrade local buildings. Do we see a building that has a kindred cost on it? Okay, like these. See, this costs some kindred to build. Interesting. Okay, we'll worry about all this stuff later. So, green buildings are basically economy-focused. These sort of brown ones are defense-focused, like they'll add additional units to the garrison of the city and make local armies more powerful. Purple units are advanced technology, so they unlock fancy units or new magic stuff. Red buildings are direct recruitment structures. You can see each one of them has at least one unit that it allows you to recruit. And then this is a special category that only appears in some places. This settlement has a building that we can only build here. The Sacred Grounds of Anathrema. Strength to the missile damage of all of our units in all of our armies everywhere. That seems pretty damn good. And the ability to recruit Hawk Riders. Yeah, okay, that's a high priority. So you can see right now, our main settlement building is Tier 1 building toward Tier 2. So we can only build stuff in the Tier 1 part of the menu. As we upgrade that main settlement, we'll get access to the Tier 2 stuff, and then the Tier 3 stuff, and so on. So it's really important to get your main settlement building upgraded quickly. Alright, and we are surrounded by hostile territories, and these are heathlands. They will drain the health of the nearby magical forest as long as they are occupied by an enemy. Well, we have a solution for that. So you can see the little red crosses here indicate that the owner of this settlement is at war with us, which is going to turn out to be a huge tactical error on their part. This settlement has... Can't get the banner to stay up. I think it's probably because I'm mousing over my army right there. Over on the right side of the banner, you can see 5 units in the garrison. This is a pretty lightly defended town. We can definitely claim it with our starting army, which has our Sisters of Twilight aboard their massive hawk, and some basic spear infantry, a couple units of archers, and these ones have magic fire arrows, that's what that icon means, and some knights on the back of great big stags, some hawk riders, and of course a great angry eagle. And we also have a hero. Delina the Spellsinger is an agent who can just walk around the map by herself and do stuff like we could send her over to this town and have her try to steal some of their technology. But I think what we're going to do for right now is just fold her into our army, because heroes who are assigned to an army can function as military units for you, and usually they're quite powerful. Alright, let's do it. Let's go attack this Temple of Adaoth. This is my temple. Alright, it's currently held by some Dark Elves, just some very basic Dark Elves. We should have no problem defeating them. Let's get in here and do a battle. So, there's a lot of strategy map stuff happening, but really, the heart of a Total War game is the battle system. All of the strategy map stuff exists pretty much to give context and weight to your real-time strategy battles. We have a huge advantage here. I don't think there's any chance of us taking significant losses or anything, but this first battle will be a good way to get familiar with our units. I really like the Wood Elves as a faction, and I played them a bunch in the first game, but it's been a while since I played that first game, and I may need to refresh a little bit. Okay. So first off, we have here the amount of magic in this area. Right now, there's 16 winds of magic, and this system's a little complicated. Don't worry too much about it, just know this is our spellcasting resource. And it'll be the different amounts of magic in different parts of the world. So we have here our monstrous stag cavalry. These are some big stags. So there are an awful lot of stats and stuff. The unit has a certain amount of health. Armor reduces how much damage you take from physical attacks. Leadership is one of the most important things. It's represented by the little white bar underneath the health bar. Units that lose a lot of leadership will panic and run away. This is like morale, so very, very important to manage. And we'll talk about all the other stats a little bit later on as things get more in-depth and intense. So right now, I think we have a pretty significant advantage in terms of ranged fire. Right? They just have fewer archers than we do. So we're going to try to take advantage of that, because we have our Hawk Riders and these, and our Lords are Yep, our lords are archers. So let's see. The Talon of Dawn. They have 2 different firing modes, it looks like. This does a lot of damage and poisons, and does big bonus damage versus infantry, while this one's more for hunting, like, monsters and stuff. Okay, let's put you in infantry mode. Man, they seem pretty good. What are the... I turned off the stat display. Yeah, okay, these seem like pretty pretty alright units. Like I said, we'll talk more about the stats later. Let's make sure our wizard is somewhere near the front where we can cast. We got our cavalry. Okay, let's just get into it. So we can pause the game at any time to issue orders. I'm going to send our flying cavalry off around the sides just to make things complicated for our enemies. Give them a lot of different targets to fire at. As you can see, we massively outnumber these guys, and also we have better and more magical units. Okay, let's just send you guys around the back. Alright, now the enemies have to be worried about attacks from all different sides. And I'm pretty content to just pick them apart with magic for the moment. Okay, let's bring in our cavalry. Focus on the enemy ranged. And as their infantry start to get a little closer to our lines, we're gonna move our spears through the archers. Like, now seems like a good time. Alright. The stags are going to do some serious damage here. I suspect you guys are not going to successfully flee. Jesus. So you can see these enemies have given up. They are terrified. The little skull with the surrender flag indicates that this unit will not recover its morale. It is out of the battle. And they tried to punish us for charging their archers, but their infantry is just too slow to catch up. It actually looks like we may win this battle without having to engage in very much real combat at all. Okay, let's have our Hawk Riders focus in on the things that are still part of the battle. Alright, so as their infantry charges into our infantry, we're just going to come up behind them and give them a little push. So one of the most devastating things you can do to a unit's morale is charge into it from the back with a cavalry unit while it's already fighting something else. And you can see all of their units have given up at the same time, so we win the battle even though they're nowhere near dead. Almost all battles in Total War Warhammer end because of morale rather than because of one side actually being killed. It's very, very important to manage your morale. So we had a single guy, probably a single one of our spearmen, die in the melee. That could not have gone better, really. That was really cool. So our units actually do get XP based on the amount of kills that they get, and units will level up, and higher level units have better stats. So it is important to try to make sure that we're feeding kills to our important units as early as possible. I think archers are by a large margin the most important thing to level up, so this went real well for us. And our character units, like our lords and our heroes, will, when they level up, they'll get skill points, and they have big, complicated skill trees that we will dig into in a moment here, because I think there's a chance we've already got a level up. Alright, once we've won a battle, we have to decide what to do with the settlement. So how does this work? When such threats are abated, they thrive. The forest health will increase in our local magical forest as long as we occupy the settlement. So we just take it over and manage it ourselves. We could clear the heathland. We'll get +1 health per turn to our forest as long as the settlement remains raised as well, and when we do this, we immediately gain 5 points. I think we're going to occupy it because we want more place to build buildings, more places to build buildings, and we've picked up a follower after the battle. Plus 14% weapon strength and plus 14 armor for our sisters. We got a guy making armor for us. All right, so we did in fact level up. So you can see here, there's a lot of different skills. We have this sort of top yellow skill area, which is direct combat improvements for the unit. There's a red area in the middle, which improves the other things in the army. Like you can see, for example, this gives attack, melee attack, and weapon strength to certain types of units. And then down at the bottom, we have blue stuff that is more about map actions, improving our function on the campaign map. we're going to spend our first skill point here in get to move more each turn, because this is by such a large margin the best skill point that you should just take that at first level on every lord. And then our spellcaster has also gained a level. So right now we know a single spell, Wissen's Wild Form, which I did not use at all because we didn't actually get into a situation where our armor or weapon damage was going to matter very much. So if we put another point into Wild Form, which we are doing, we're going to unlock some access to some new spells, like the Flock of Doom, which is a bunch of crows that will attack your opponents. Pan's Impenetrable Pelt, which is a very powerful defensive spell. And, of course, a great big direct damage nuke. We'll get to all that. We'll get to all that soon. Alright, let's have a look at our new settlement. So, our first region is a region that only has, or is a province that only has one settlement in it. That's not usually the case. You can see here, the Temple of Adioth is part of a province that has 4 settlements. One of them, the main settlement, functions pretty much like our other one. And these other minor settlements have much lower potential. You can't build up the main settlement building as high. They don't have as many slots for constructing things. And we wrecked this up pretty bad when we took it over. So let's repair the damage here. And we got a little bit of money from winning the battle. So we don't have a lot of... This is a Wood Elf thing. We don't have a lot of options for building things outside of magical forests. This is just like an outpost, basically. So what do we want to build here? We can improve the growth and casualty replenishment rates. We can feed even more growth into the local forest. That might be a good idea. And this provides a little bit of a garrison so that we don't have to actively defend this thing so much. This will give us a different garrison and increase public order. Give us more money from raising stuff. That's interesting. And the Foraging Grove is also more growth for the nearby magic forest. And alright, so a lot of them give... They all give some kind of garrison. So to some degree, it's a question of like what kinds of units do you want defending your outpost? Yeah, I don't know. That's tricky. I actually have no idea what we want. I think we probably want to gain growth nearby. So let's pick one of the ones that do growth. Yeah, we'll take a World Route pathway. This seems to have the best local defenses. So a settlement's garrison is just free units that just live in the settlement and will play defense. We just fought a settlement garrison. And then we're sitting here in a friendly settlement, so we can go and do some recruitment. But unfortunately, you can see here, all of our units take multiple turns to recruit. I don't know if I want our army to be stationary for 2 turns. We might want to run and go work on the rest of these settlements. And this settlement just has a tiny little garrison. Yeah, okay, we're not going to start recruiting anything. We're going to spend all of our money upgrading our stuff instead. So, what do we want to build here? Probably this. Alright, so we're just about out of cash. We have a reasonable income each turn. And I think we're done with all of our army and settlement stuff. Alright, let's talk about research. Here's our tech tree. It's different than it used to be, and we're all going to have to get a little more familiar with it. These techs in the middle require an additional resource called Amber to research. This is a rare resource. You will not be able to research all of these technologies in a single campaign. Okay, that's interesting stuff. We'll worry about those when we have access to Amber. Right now, we can only research one thing, so let's do that. Also known as the Crone, Morai Heg is the only god in the Elven Pantheon who is neither Kadai nor Sitharai. And those are both things that I'm familiar with, obviously. One of them might be like an elven word for the elves, and the other one might be an elven word for the forest spirits? I don't know. But this will give us more vision on the campaign map for all of our characters and more public order in all of our settlements. Seems pretty obviously good. Alright, what else do we have down here? We have our office system. So as we recruit new lords, we can assign them to offices within our court, and each office will have some benefit. Like, for example, once we have a high weaver, like a high wizard, all of our spellcasters will have a lower chance to miscast their spells. And also the wizard's army gets a ward save bonus, which is just flat damage reduction. That's pretty good. Obviously, none of this stuff is going to matter a huge amount until we have some lords to assign. So we're not going to worry about it too much. I'm just glancing through these. Yo, that one seems pretty good. Okay, yeah, we gotta recruit some new lords as soon as we can afford to do that. And then we also have the diplomacy button here, which will allow us to, make peace and trade and stuff once we actually know some factions we care about. We're familiar with all the Wood Elf factions that live around Athaloran, and that's kind of it. All the Dark Elf factions that started the game near us, who we're going to end up fighting. And over here, the Exiles of Nehek. So they control this weird desert region right next to us. I would actually love to be friendly with them if we could be. This is a neutral heathland. It has no effect on the health of our forest because these people are not our enemies. But if we ally with its owners, it will start to provide benefits. Let's see if they're amenable to a little chat. They would love a trade agreement. I'm super into that. So this will make a little bit of money for each of us, and the more trade goods we produce, the more we'll get from this. Also, while we're at it, let's just throw terms on here. So you can see the little colored hands next to the term indicate how likely they are to agree. They would maybe accept a defensive alliance. They're super into military access, which allows us to travel through each other's territory without incurring a diplomatic penalty. Do I want to just see if they'll go for this? Here, let's take the terms that we know we can get. We'll go for a non-aggression pact and a trade agreement and stuff. Okay, they seem way into this. If the likelihood of success is indicated as high, that means they really want these terms, so we might actually be able to weasel a little bit of money out of them, too. Now, adding even a small amount of money nukes the deal. Never mind. This is fine. The trade agreement is pretty important. So over here, we can see how they currently feel about us. Their current level of approval is 0, but they're trending toward 33 on account of all of the good treaties that we've done. Signing a couple of treaties with a faction will get their opinion of you up, and it'll make it easier to sign further treaties. So it's a good thing to just get a couple going as early as possible. Okay. Excuse me. Alright, I think we're done for our first turn. So when we press this button, you'll see all of the factions in the game will scroll by. There's a lot of them. There are a lot of factions in a game of Mortal Empires. I think it's well over 100. Oh, I do need to fix my camera settings. Let's just do that real quick. For all factions, animation speeds really fast. This is probably a thing I could have said before we got into the game, but I forgot. I forgot to look for it. Let's make sure all of these units are moving as quickly as possible. Okay. So the vast majority of these factions we're not anywhere near, and we don't have to worry about at all for the moment. The world's a big place. We're very focused on our own backyard here. Here, we don't need Tutorial Man. I do want to have a look at the event log, though, if I could. We discovered a foreign trespasser, Kolek Manripper, and his beastmen herd are in our land. That's concerning. Beastmen and Wood Elves do not get along, traditionally. I wonder if we're going to have to fall back and play defense. We have a 9-unit garrison in the Witchwood. Let's have a look at what that is actually made up of. We got some Wildwood Rangers, which are extremely good melee units, if I remember correctly. Some Dryads, so some tree guys. A couple of units of Eternal Guard, that's our basic spearmen. A couple units of archers, and a Tree Man. A Tree Man is a very powerful giant tree monster. I think probably we don't need to fall back and play defense. I would expect a Tree Man to be able to kill quite a large number of beastmen indeed. Alright, so we got to get a move on here. You can see right here is the zone border. It's where our region ends and the Dark Elf region begins. It's important to know where the zone borders are because in friendly land, your units can replenish easily from losses. While we're out in Dark Elf territory, things are going to be a little more dangerous. So our army is right now in the neutral stance. We could change up our stance a little bit to help us get where we're going. Like we could go into March stance, which has us move a lot faster, but we can't initiate battles while we're in March stance, and if we get attacked, our whole army will be tired because of all the marching. But I want to make 100% sure we're going to be able to reach Val's Anvil next turn. Where's the edge of our movement in normal mode? We could also use the world routes. A big benefit of this is that, like, moving through difficult terrain will really shorten your movement range, but you can use the world routes to just skip through difficult terrain. It looks like travel's easy enough here that we can just stay in normal mode. I think we'll be able to reach Val's Anvil next turn without having to march. And I don't want to leave myself in unfamiliar territory in march mode, because that's a really good way to get jumped and get your army destroyed. And I do believe we are done, then. So I noticed this is still not friendly. Apparently the treaties that we signed are not good enough. We're going to have to get a defensive alliance with them if we want that to flip over. It'll take a while, but we'll get there. Or we'll kill them all. It's either way is fine. So I'm assuming that this Dark Elf player, Bleakholds, I believe, is going to have some armies. We have no idea where they are, but I imagine they're going to show up eventually. Alright, we have Vision of the Oak, so we can see what the other Wood Elf factions are doing. That's probably good news. We probably need to know how they feel about us.
Most celebrated of Elven Smith.
Oh, the Forge of Daith is happening. Hold on. Alright, gifts from Lord Daith. Lord Daith, the legendary elven smith of Athaloran and your surrogate uncle, has sent word that he has been busy at work within Val's Anvil. Amongst the searing heat of the temple's enchanted fires, the blind craftsman forged 4 pieces of magical equipment. He has delivered these gifts via his emissaries to aid you with your task. So give us new stuff every 10 turns, and then we can access the forge every 2 turns. Is that this button up here? Okay. Lord Daith will offer to improve his gifts after the sisters win battles. Okay, cool. So, we got an eagle bow. Pretty straightforward. Dreaming boots, which make the army move faster. Man, this seems pretty good. Strategy map movement is, in my opinion, the most important stat an army can have by a large margin. This seems great. A little bit of toughness for the unit that has it, and then casualty replenishment for the whole army. And this does what? Dramatically buffs the speed and charging ability of a unit. Okay, that all seems good. Let's equip some of that. So in addition to their big skill trees, your heroes have follower slots, or your characters have follower slots and also equipment slots. I think we'll just throw all of this stuff on the sisters, right? All seems pretty solid. Alright, and we can attack Val's Anvil. Let's take a step out here. Okay, because I wanted to get vision before committing to the full move. Unfortunately, they have quite a large army nearby. We may not be able, in fact, to take them. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to fall back to our own territory. Just over the line. And then we're going to go into recruitment mode. I was hoping that we'd be able to just dash past them, or dash to this before they got reinforcements in place, but no such luck. So, because we built this building that gives us Glade Guard, we can, while we are in that region, recruit some Glade Guard, and let's just beef up as quickly as we can here. And then we're still 6 turns off of opening up these new building slots, so we're not going to have a ton to do these next couple of turns. Now, we have no idea what the vision range on that Dark Elf army is. It's possible that it's just the same as our vision range right now, which is to say that they can't currently see us. But they've come out to fight. So we have a couple of options here. We could, of course, just do it. The balance of power bar here indicates that it thinks we'll probably win. But I gotta be honest with you, looking at the numbers that they're rolling here, bunch of guys on horseback with repeater crossbows and stuff, I'm a little worried about this. I don't know that I think we can win this. If you do want to fight a battle, you can do it manually like we just did, or you can let the computer run it for you. You end up fighting a lot of battles over the course of a campaign. Playing them all manually would take forever. And sometimes the auto-resolve will resolve battles in ways that kind of don't make sense. There's some weirdness with this. We'll talk about it later. I think for right now, we're just going to fall back, because despite what this says, I'm pretty sure we lose this battle, and, like, pretty badly. So, we get to fall back a certain distance, and then their turn continues. They can't really chase us any further. But now we're in a bit of an awkward spot. So the recruiting we were doing has been canceled by the fact that we had to fall back. And if we try to move somewhere and then recruit again, we are potentially just going to get attacked. But because the Temple of Adioth has now a 10-unit garrison, the base 5 units from the building, plus the 5 units from this, if we fall back to here and we just do our recruiting here, I suspect they will not be strong enough to take this from us. And, in fact, we can now access the global recruitment pool, which you can only do when you're in a recruitment stance or when you're in a friendly settlement, and pull in some more stuff this way, too. Let's grab some additional melee units. We don't want to have too many archers. We need something to actually stand and fight. And spear units are generally good against horses, so you see a lot of cavalry from those guys. So next turn we'll have 6 more units. They have a difficult choice here. They either have to come and attack us and try to win a fight where they are significantly outnumbered thanks to the garrison, or they have to back off and let me get a huge army and then come after them. Hopefully they'll do the stupid thing and just run forward and attack us. Okay, their turn just slid past and we didn't see their army move forward, so I'm sure they've just fallen back to the settlement. We might stay here for one more turn and do some more recruitment, just max out our army. Alright, so we finished our technology. Let's get working on the next one. So we got a split here. Income from most buildings and also armor, or gain additional forest health for winning battles in magical forests or in the heathlands, and also more money from raising. And what do these build into? Missile resistance, cooldowns for spells. There's another campaign movement range bonus over here, which I'm pretty happy to take. Yeah, this looks like the direction for us. What's down here? Enemy units are afflicted with temporary defensive penalties at the beginning of ambush battles. I do like to ambush. Just straight physical resistance for all your infantry. I mean, eventually we'll have all of this stuff. I think we're going to go this way. I think that Vol the Maker is a better technology than Lord of Destruction, and it leads to better stuff for the early game. So income from our resource and crafting buildings and armor for all of our stuff. Seems pretty good. And like I said, let's go ahead and recruit some more. I think we probably have borderline too many archers already. So we're going to fill up the last 5 slots in our army. You can see each army caps out at 20. Sorry, in this way. We'll bring in 3 units of melee and 2 more units of archers. This is a lot of arrows as it is. I tend to not like to have more than like 6 to 8 ranged units in an army. Maybe I could relax on that with archers because with elves because their archers are so good. We'll see. We'll feel it out as we continue here. Alright, so we're just going to get a real full stack going, and then we're going to go back over there and see if we can't bait them into something. And we should probably check in on how our other nearby factions feel about us. So you can tell by the shape of a flag what kind of faction that flag represents. This is a Tomb King faction, so they're like skeletons. We got a Happy Populace bonus. +4 public order per turn in the temple. Well, that's nice. And the temple's got a massive public order bonus from having a huge military stationed in it. The Witchwood is trending negative, but not that much. Alright. Let's move forward. So we have a couple of other stances available. We can go into raiding stance. We get into an enemy territory with more than 50% movement left. We can raid them, steal gold from them, do damage to their stuff. We also have this encampment stance, which allows us to replenish and potentially recruit in unfriendly territory. Okay, so we can still see that they're there. They are in their recruitment stance as well, unfortunately. So they're going to get big, and we're just going to have to roll in there and fight them in a way that's more even than I usually like. But you know what? My units are better than theirs. I bet we can handle them. So each military unit has a little bit of a gold cost to recruit, and then you have to pay them every turn. You might have noticed our gold per turn has gone down considerably, despite the fact that we built a gold building, because we are now paying an awful lot of units. The primary thing that's going to keep us from recruiting new armies is just the expense, the per turn expense of new armies. These elves would like a non-aggression pact. I'm into it. Sure, let's be friends.
Nagaroth reveals it. A threat to the forest has appeared nearby. Aggressions against the forest are not uncommon, but some threats are more pressing than others.
Alright, enough of you. Chittering in the deeps. A verminous horde of Skaven has started emerging from the ground at the edge of the forest. Their specific purpose is unclear, but their squalid, parasitic ways are more than just an affront to the weave. The skittering ratmen and twisted creatures of their foul ranks are abominations of nature and represent everything you stand against. More of them are still emerging, but by preemptively attacking you can prevent them from reaching full strength. Well, that seems important. Maybe this Dark Elf thing can wait. Let's see, they got up to 14 units plus 6, so it would be a fair 20 versus 20 fight. The question is, do we take Val's Anvil, break the Dark Elves here, and then go deal with this? Or do we go deal with this now and risk getting attacked by the Dark Elves? I think we gotta break the Dark Elves. I think this is important. Hold on, before we do this, because I'm very forgetful, let's just check in with the other Wood Elves and see how they're feeling. Could we do a non-aggression with you? And what about with you? Oh, hey. They are very likely to accept. My guess is they probably won't give us any money. We're not going to stress about it. Alright. It's a good idea to be friendly with the other Wood Elves so that they don't world roots into our territory and steal our stuff. And yeah, we're feeling very positive with the Grand Hierophant. So we'll just come back and keep checking. A defensive alliance would be a good idea when we can afford to get one. Alright, let's do this thing. Now that we are so numerous, I have a little bit more hope. They have a lot of infantry. They really don't have a lot of ranged units outside of their horses, and missile cavalry is actually usually pretty awkward against real, like, normal missile troops, because horses are so large and easy to hit. Basically, we'll do a very good job of outshooting them with these guys, and then we'll just have a huge range advantage. So you can see the rectangles, sort of rounded off rectangles drawn on the map here, are the deployment zones. We deploy our troops in the yellow area, they deploy their troops in the red area. And the terrain looks pretty flat. You can see it's sort of a relief map, so you can see there's like a ridge at the front of our deployment zone, which is good news for us. So we can put our archers up there. Now we have to be careful with our eagles. Yeah, we got our little ridge. Also, this forest is a little inconvenient. We got to be careful with our eagles, because our eagles are going to be very vulnerable to their archers while they still have a lot. Here, let's gamble. Risk magic for more favorable wins. I didn't like our starting 10. Okay, 17 was good. That was a good reroll. So let's pull all of our flying units back for the moment. Well, the sisters can be close. The sisters are fast and dangerous. So you can see this gives plus 75 bonus versus large. In this game, large means horse-sized or greater. So I'm actually going to leave us on Talon of Dawn mode for the moment while we're potentially trying to shoot down a lot of missile cavalry. And make sure that our archers are all as far forward as they can possibly be. Wizard, unfortunately, not super useful just yet. What are the stats on my Wild Riders? So we have 35 melee attack, which is our chance to hit enemies. 30% melee defense, which lowers our chance to be hit. These are not, honestly, these are not great values. But we have 70 charge bonus. whenever your unit gets to charge into an enemy unit, you get your charge bonus added to your melee attack and to your weapon strength for, I believe, 10 seconds after completing a charge. So these guys are super powerful right after they land a charge. And they have a considerable amount of physical resistance alongside a pretty decent amount of armor. They cause fear in enemies. They have frenzy, which makes them even more powerful. This is just like a really good unit. I'm going to pull these guys over here. And then we're going to stack up some of our spears to the side. In theory, they could attempt a melee charge, or a cavalry charge with their cavalry archers, right? They're still on horseback. I don't think they'll do it, but let's be ready, just in case. Alright, it looks like they're feeling pretty aggressive. They're marching toward us right away. I am content to allow them. If they wanna come up on us, we'll do some good work here. So you can see the yellow areas indicating our attack range. They're gonna walk right into an awful lot of violence here. They got a lot of their missile cavalry split off to the sides, which is fine by me. I mean, for the moment, let's just let them walk into danger, right? You should be focused on missile cavalry, though. Yeah, you can see lots of damage to their health, and one of the biggest effects of ranged fire actually is the fact that units hate to be shot with arrows, and so they take a bunch of morale damage as well. Here, we're going to use these spear troops to push these guys back. They're on horseback, so we won't be able to catch them, but we can bend them away from the battle, and then use our own cavalry to do some maneuvers on this side. Were I them, I might consider keeping all of my missile cavalry together, because they're going to run into some problems here. All right, these guys are all close enough. Let's grab all of our spears and have them move forward. Actually, yeah, just move forward until you meet the enemy. And as soon as, honestly, we can probably just have a bunch of the Glade Guard turn on the Dark Riders for the moment. You probably won't be able to reach them without getting out of position, and I do still want to be shooting at the enemies. So, I mean, what do they have? They have some Black Ark Corsairs, which are dudes with 2 swords, one assumes from the icon. Yep, okay, so maybe more dangerous melee units. And then they have a lot of just, like, extremely basic, like, tier 1 infantry. The shields that these guys are carrying do protect them from arrows to some degree. Obviously, they're still getting shot. They are still taking a lot of damage here. And I think we should see these guys crumble under ranged fire pretty quickly. Can you catch them? Maybe. The terrain's not really on our side here. But that's fine. If all we do is push them back... Hold on a second. Let me make sure that my archers are in... let's see. Where's the button for this? Guard mode. This means they won't chase. We should probably put all of our archers in guard mode for the moment so that I don't accidentally command them to do something crazy. When their targets get out of range, they'll just find something new to shoot at that is within range. And where's my big eagle? Alright, I wanted to keep it back until we knew what they were going to do with these guys. We can bring it forward a little bit now and try to use it to harass stuff on the line. Alright, you guys just give chase for the moment. We're consigning a bunch of these Eternal Guard to a slow death of getting picked apart, but it's important strategically. They're doing a good job of keeping the enemy from moving their ranged units the way they would like to. And my plan here is basically chase these guys off and then turn on the enemy archers. You can see the morale effect of taking as much ranged fire as they have taken. It's adding up pretty quickly. So when a unit has a white flag, that means it has currently given up. It's currently in flee mode. But it may not necessarily stay in fleeing mode. If we let it run away, you can see they've recovered a little bit of leadership, and they're going to come back into it. I'm going to leave our sisters attacking those guys until they are permanently broken. Okay, our Hawk Riders have this ability, that's right. just causes armor-piercing damage, effective at long range. You can use it twice per battle. Well, do it. Let's see what that does when we unpause here in a second. And let me help out some of our units down here. So we can beast form, or wild form, some of our troops for a bonus. Who needs it? These guys need it. These Eternal Guard are fighting those Corsairs, and they are losing. Alright, let's focus up our fire here a little bit. At the moment, we just kind of have our ranged troops shooting at whoever. Here, actually, break their Dark Shards. You guys on this side focus on... We don't really need to shoot at the rest of the ranged troops, because I think our cavalry are going to get them. So actually, the ranged units over here, I might want to have reform in a different position to shoot into the enemy's flank. With arrow units, you can shoot over your own troops into enemies that they're in melee with, but you lose a little bit of accuracy doing that. You can see these units here doing that arcing shot. And also, the morale damaging effect of ranged fire is much more powerful when it's hitting the flanks. Okay, just make sure these guys are doing the thing they need to be doing. Seems like they're in the enemy ranged and chopping people up pretty badly. You know what? Let's pull the sisters over here to give them a little bit of support, because they are getting shot a little bit. You can see that enemy ranged unit broken almost immediately. And our spears are doing actually a really great job of forcing those guys back. Okay. Oh, you can see they're all purple and glowy now. This is a dangerous time for us. Dark Elves have a thing that buffs all of their units once they've committed enough murders in a battle, because they're a very murder-focused people. So all of their units have a pretty significant stat bonus right now, which is obviously dangerous. Okay, just making sure my Eagle Riders are staying on this thing. Yeah, their melee units are a little bit better than ours, and we're gonna start running into some problems here. As soon as our cavalry breaks these Corsairs, we're gonna have them turn around and start smashing enemies in the back here. Alright, cooldown on the spell's almost up again. You can see... Oh, I put it on half speed. You can see that it did even out the battle pretty significantly. Come back in here and charge that. Here comes our Eagle to chop up some guys from the back. Yeah, let's pull the cavalry back over here. They didn't actually finish dealing with that ranged unit yet, but we need to do something, or else we're going to completely lose this unit of spears. Okay. They've broken. I do pause a lot. I know better Total War players have disdain for people who pause a ton, but it helps me focus. Okay, so over here we do have a unit of spears that has just gotten into the archers. Wood Elf archers are actually reasonably good fighters, archer relative. As you might imagine, a lot of ranged troops are pretty bad at this thing. But we don't have to worry too much about the enemy low tier infantry being in my archer line. Do we want to pull our Lord back? We could use our Lord to try to break these guys real fast, but I want to finish off the Dark Riders. I want these dudes to actually be gone. So we're working on them slowly with our flying troops. Yeah, I guess just keep at this this way. Let's have you guys all try to finish breaking those guys. You can work this one out. You can see these guys have broken and come back into the fight several times, which is annoying. I'm assuming our wizard's a pretty bad fighter. Yeah, 33 attack, 34 defense, with only 15 armor. Let's keep you out of melee. Some wizards are a little bit better at it than others. But yeah, we need to lower the number of enemy melee troops that we're fighting, because we're having that situation where we're in a little bit of danger because we just don't have enough melee bodies. Alright, let's pull our charging cavalry troops back. charge the enemy ranged a little bit more. So you can see when they're flashing like this, it means they're considering breaking. Alright, and as soon as that's done, you guys got to get over here. This is kind of how you want to use shock cavalry, a lot of charging back and forth, not really staying involved with enemies for too long. Oof, boy, we're pretty close to losing some of this front. You can see the Great Eagle, even though it's got pretty superior positioning on these enemies, is going to lose any battle that it stays involved in. Great Eagles are just bad units. They're very soft. They are charge cavalry, so you do wanna like pull them out and charge them back in again. But also, they're just kind of bad. We will replace that eagle as soon as it is reasonable for us to do so. So we permanently broke that unit of enemy dread spears. Like I said, things are under control. This is probably the place where the battle's going the worst for us. Like right here and right there. We have a single low health unit against 2 stronger enemy units. And we need to clean that up. Fortunately, we're causing a lot of morale breaks here. Units that see friendlies lose morale and break and run away near them suffer an additional morale penalty. So as more and more of their stuff panics, we get closer to pushing through the last bits of their healthy stuff. We need ranged units to turn and fire at these guys for sure. Actually, you know what? Given the way things are shaped right now, we could even have these units come forward a little bit and start shooting at the flank, which is probably a good idea. Their lord over here, I've been basically ignoring. Just this one character, because I don't think their lord's a huge threat to us. They'll get some kills for sure, but maybe this would be a good time to start cavalry charging that guy and knocking him down. Our Hawk Riders, let's see if we can have you break these guys with your special ability here. Okay, it's like a bunch of homing arrows. That seems pretty okay. Alright. Got a lot of broken enemies. You guys got to turn around and do some work over here. Right, pull the cavalry out. They did their charge. Now it's time to go be somewhere else. You know what? I'm going to have our lord... You can see we did a lot of damage to that guy very quickly. I'm going to have our lord shoot at their lord. And you can see there's a lot of wavering going on right now. Yeah, we're starting to see units break permanently. I think we're going to get a surrender here in a second. Alright, actually, all of the ranged units start shooting at their lord because everything else is breaking pretty badly. It's a tough time to be that guy. Wow, that eagle really knocked him for a loop. Okay, so they have a lot of surrendered units. They still have all these archers over here. But we're gonna focus on their lord for the moment, because this part of the battle's going really well. If we kill their lord on the battlefield, it'll cause a significant amount of morale damage to the rest of their troops. Okay, let's pull the eagle back. We don't need to have anything engaged in melee with him. Oh, also I told the wizard to attack directly. That's probably a bad play. Okay, let's finish this guy off, and once he breaks, it'll scatter the rest of them a little bit. Tough dude, though. There we go. Okay, so we're almost out of arrows. The third bar that you see underneath some troops is their amount of ammunition. We are having a little bit of an ammunition problem on basically everybody. In fact, yeah, a huge number of our troops are just hard out of ammo. Alright, you lot, fall back. You guys, as the troops who still have arrows left, are going to need to come forward and start working on these guys. We probably want the Hawk Riders to just fall back. I do not trust Hawk Riders to engage in melee combat. But our Lord should actually be pretty solid at this. Right, let's... 70 melee attack. That's a much better number than we've seen on some of our other units. Pretty bad defense, but very, very killy. So yeah, we can execute some charges with our Lord here. And are we in... yes, we are in anti-large mode. Okay. And then, unfortunately, spear troops, you're just going to have to form up and protect what archers we have left, because it's an unenviable job, but someone's got to do it. No, let's get the eagle out of there, because he is going to get shot down for sure. Alright, you see the wavering, and you can see the break in the morale spread across their troops, like a contagion. That went a little rougher than I thought it was going to go, but we did win. So, got a ton of kills on our Stag Knights, and they got out of the battle in one piece. It looks like we did probably lose 1 unit of Eternal Guard, but on the whole, the costs there were not too great. And lots of XP for our important units. So you can see these little chevrons on the unit indicate their level. We've already got a couple levels on one of our archers. And my guess is, based on the size of Bleakholds' territory and like the kinds of settlements they had, they probably only had this one army. We probably have just destroyed their entire military. An army that is defeated in battle will fall back with whatever's left of its troops if it's caught in the field. An army that is inside of a settlement is wiped out when it loses a battle, because there's nowhere for them to flee to. So we have probably completely obliterated their military.
They must know disorder.
Let's go ahead and take this over. It does heal our troops a little bit to occupy the Heathland. And the forge is lit. Following your previous foray into battle, you've received word from Lord Daith that the forge fires are lit and ready. The old master is ready to lend his unrivaled smithing skills to your cause. So we can only do it once every 2 turns. Let's have a look at that. Sends word that due to a sudden increase in the winds, that's the winds of magic whenever it's a capital W, blowing above Val's anvil, he is able to either refine your dragon pendant to permanently increase its potential, or reforge it to temporarily grant it even greater power. Alright. So, we can permanently improve it to this, or we can temporarily improve it to a huge ward save. So ward save is just flat damage reduction. A huge bonus to casualty replenishment. I'm gonna... Boy. 10% bonus casualty replenishment right now, after we just took the amount of losses we took in that battle, would be pretty nice. And we don't exactly know what the deal is here, but we probably want to be ready to fight these guys. I'm going to take that. Let's take the temporary boost. So, if you look at your damaged units here, you can see the yellow part of the health bar is how much HP they will regain over the coming turn. So we'll be ready to fight pretty quickly here, actually. And we need to do some recruiting. You know what? We're going to be sitting still for more than 1 turn. We could recruit something that will take 2 turns. And probably we ought to get a new melee unit in here, because our composition is already pretty fragile, in my opinion. Okay, so we have another skill point. What kind of stuff is available to us here? Increase in income from winning battles. Oh, this is a corruption thing. We haven't even talked about corruption. We're not going to worry about that right now. Increase our ambush success chance and make our missile damage more intense during ambushes. That seems actually very good. And this is public order bonuses and growth bonuses. We're going to take Obscuring Canopy. I'm actually... Oh, hold on. How do we ambush people, though? We don't have an ambush stance, do we? Hold on a second.
Itching for fresh battle.
Yeah, ordinarily, the way that you execute an ambush is by setting your army in a particular stance. I mean, we must have an ambush stance, because we have things that affect our ability to ambush, but I don't... Alright, for the moment, let's not take that, because I don't know how to do ambushes. Let's grab Growth of the Forest. Public Order and Growth are both valuable, and we're going to be in friendly territory a lot at the beginning of the campaign. And I think we, what do we need now? A Public Order boost would probably be a good idea. We're struggling with Public Order a little bit in the nearby settlements. We could get even more growth. But this one has another unit recruitment tied to it. We're going to take that, so we have access to our to as many units as possible. Oh, and our wizard also leveled up. Alright, so each different school of magic, this caster is of the Beasts school of magic. Each different school has a different passive ability. So this one just gives us more magic, more winds with which to cast. I think we're going to grab a new spell first. So Wild Form's good. It's a pretty strong boost to a unit's fighting ability. I'm going to grab Flock of Doom. This is a nice AoE magic spell. It's particularly good against large numbers of weak units, and it sounds like we're about to fight Skaven, which their armies usually are large numbers of weak units, so... Alright, we're going to be stationary for 2 turns while we're recruiting and healing, and then we'll go deal with that, and hopefully we won't get there too late. And that aside, I think we're in good shape. We have a decent amount of money on hand, but not a lot to do with it, unfortunately, and not so much income. We'll have to get that sorted out. This passive income per turn doesn't necessarily have to be the heart of your economy. If your armies are good enough at fighting and raiding, you can totally run things just off of the spoils from battle, and it kind of seems like that may be the way we end up playing, because we're making a fair amount of money off of beating up these Dark Elves. Alright, well, I think that's where we're going to end this first episode. The intent with this series is to do a new hour of gameplay every weekday. Because we're starting at the end of the week here, I'll do episodes over the weekend as well. So, when you come back next time, tomorrow, get another hour of murdering Dark Elves and hopefully fighting off some Skaven ahead of us. And we'll see you then.